You brought this upon yourself, Hideo Kojima. You brought this upon yourself. Ranton.
Ladies, gentlemen, and this is what rape looks like. Okay? Believe me, I've seen this. I've done this. You don't want this. But, as always, my opinion is very nuanced. Unlike all the other YouTube faggots, my reviews are...
irrelevant.
So get this, Mother Base got wrecked by Lisa Ann's hole. Big Balls fucks Offie and a lot of soldiers get sucked into it and disappear. The remaining Konami employees are cleaned up by gimps, but one guy is special, and that's you. Generic Pendejo 69.
My fault.
But I gave him a more fitting name. Autocorrect. You're chosen by a man called Good Luck who works for the Warden Cliff section of the US government, which is strong, no doubt, but not strong enough to give his thumb a little more texture. Thanks, Obama! So what's the logical conclusion? You guessed it. Pinapli! No, that would make sense. Of course, you're being sent to that parallel dimension through another black hole to recover the missing soldiers and harvest Cuban energy because there are zombies called Wanderers and they have always existed and what the fuck and why? And is this a subliminal message? Metal Gear Survive is a third-person survival game. What does that mean? Well, it means that you open doors like a normal person.
Do not feel sorry if you've never played a survival game before. It's okay. But if you've never played a Metal Gear before...
It's really simple actually. You got your base of operations. This is where you can craft weapons, armor, gadgets, food, etc. out of the things you find lying around everywhere in the world. It's almost like a hunting simulator. What can I say, Esse? I enjoy my steak. Medium punch! The most important thing though is just staying alive. Your health and stamina regenerate staying alive automatically, but only up to a certain point, which is determined by your level of hunger and thirst. And if I may take a tiny step back, you can only craft weapons which you have found blueprints for, mostly stashed in these boxes. And since you can't craft on the go, it's important to fix up all your equipment and stock up on food items before you go out to explore. Anyways, you got a nice character screen to keep track of everything. Even if you play as a black person, this status screen person is white. So... race war? Since the game is open world, you can head out at any time, anywhere. But on the map screen you'll see a yellow circle and several blue ones. Yellow marks the location of your main mission and blue all the optionals. Some parts of the map are covered by the so-called boost. In these areas you also have to keep track of your oxygen intake and your health and stamina drains faster.
Abandon all hope from here on. Not to mention fear and doubt.
Hello?
Your Beatrice is waiting up ahead.
How dare you quote the legendary Italian poet Dante Alighieri? That's cultural appropriation and insensitive, and if he was alive today, he'd probably choke you with a spaghetti. So let's talk about the interesting part, the action. You got several inventory slots to fill up with close combat weapons, firearms, and items. They all deteriorate as you use them, but in terms of controls, things are similar to Metal Gear Solid 5, although not completely. You have to go into a combat state before you attack. The world is filled with huge amounts of these zombies, and they notice you very quickly. So a stealthy approach is often recommended. But yeah, a lot of times it just ends up in a Massenfickerei. The objectives and how they play out remain largely the same throughout the whole game. You need to access a server and bring the information back to the hub. In order to fast travel, you have to unlock fast travel points by defending them for a certain amount of time against incoming waves. And that's basically it. Recover data or defend something. Go back to base. All resources you've gathered are added to the supply box. Rinse and repeat like a condom. Base building is another part of the job as well, because occasionally new people join the cause and they require shelter and a job. So you build potato farms, water supplies, medicine, etc. to satisfy their needs. Yes, that's a black child in a wheelchair working on a potato field. But it's not what you think, okay? There's a fence, so I couldn't find a Mexican. When you kill wanderers or any hostile creature, you can harvest them for Cuban energy. A small fraction of this energy is always needed when you craft something, but you'll spend most of it on skill points that become increasingly more expensive. You can spend them on enhancing your damage output, maximum health, stamina, speed, some specific improvements for certain weapon types, and new helpful moves such as stomp or a counterattack.
Faccia di merda di gabagool. Like everybody else on the YouTube, I had very low expectations. I knew this was gonna be a shit. But I can't help it. I always try to stay
HIV
positive. And you know what? I'm actually not joking. There is some good shit here. All the others say this game is crap, but it's not. Well, maybe.
We can't just gloss over the fact that the gameplay foundation is rock solid. Snake. You just can't pretend that it doesn't play well, cause it does, mate. Bollocks and tea. Metal Gear Solid 5, although a very flawed game in my eyes that are wider than yours, has excellent controls, and so does Metal Gear Survive. And I know it's easy to make the game look bad by laughing at how robotic it looks, but honestly, I enjoys it. I'm gonna go even further and say that melee fighting is somewhat reminiscent of Dark Souls, but without a lock-on, because it does require skill and timing, and button mashing will lead to your death. The Metal Gear franchise is very diverse in terms of gameplay, but one of the most dominant aspect has always been stealth. And I gotta say, due to the large groups of penis faces you're going up against, in combination with the game being very challenging but never unfair, it actually manages to keep stealth necessary. Nay, dare I say it, crucial. The game also requires you to be
very tactical.
If you go into a mission without preparations, i.e. fences, food, ammo, etc., you'll be sucked, especially towards the end of the game. You always have to think of a strategy beforehand. I also found the crafting itself and how it's implemented to be very cool. The user interface is fantastic, easy to get into, accessible, and stop. I think it's time.
Konami, what have thy done? Were 2 atom bombs not enough? You took something precious and amazing and you decided to fist it. The average anus does not simply recover from that. What have thy done?
Metal Gear Survive has actually only one issue. It's half-assed. Now that may be connected to a lack of funds, but who gives a shit, let's pick it into pieces. Metal Gear has always been about conspiracies within the military-industrial complex, Magnetresonanz, Tomograph, Kraftfahrzeug, Haftpflichtversicherung. It's intricate and complex, whereas this is Kindershit and Cockschleck. That was a double rhyme mixtape coming soon. Just look at this amazing way of modern storytelling. A 5-minute long cutscene where you stare at surveillance cameras.
Soon, you'll have faith in this one too. This soldier is the traveler we've been waiting for.
And things get even worse. The majority of the dialogue happens like this, and it's bad.
It's going to be a long road, but remember, Captain, a journey of 1,000 miles wasn't built in a day.
I think the expression is either a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Oh yes, I've been craving anal for weeks, ach ja. They immediately set up the stakes, they tell you that you don't have a choice, and they set up a previous incident so to pretend like they didn't just pull it all out of their ass. Every single necessary storytelling cliche gets ticked off within the first half an hour.
Work with us. Do that, and I'll make sure you have a ticket out of there.
Basically, it's shut up, you're here now, and just survive, okay? Stupid chutia. There's no mystery, no suspense, no personalities. I mean, your guy doesn't even have a fucking voice. Give me cover! There is a somewhat decent plot twist at the end, but it doesn't save it. The franchise has now officially become a shadow of its former self and feels like a giant middle finger to Kojima-san, or a condom to the face. Now let's talk about the world. Oh, boy, oh underage boy. Why does Hollywood want to fuck you? What can I say? It's a desert. And not only literally, but also figuratively. It's an absolutely 100% dead world with little wildlife shit stains dropped here and there into the no man's land to make it look more, sad. There is no variety here. No interesting locations to explore. Just look at it. And this stupid ass dust idea makes everything worse. It turns the whole screen gray and you can't even see 5 feet ahead. The game says it best.
What kind of shit are you trying to pull?
It's probably the saddest open world I've ever come across. Although I said before that the gameplay works well, it's incredibly repetitive. You're doing the same dog shit over and over again. Defend, defend, defend. It's so sad.
Thank you.
And once you return to base, things get even more depressing. I don't understand why base building and crew management has even been implemented here. They expose the game for what it is, a big nothing burger. Construction possibilities are so limited, and most importantly, none of this shit even matters. Keeping track of your crew? I didn't give a flying pickle rick about any of that shit. You got 5 people in the base. Why manage them? For what? Pathetic.
Oh shit. I never understood the fascination with survival games. I don't get it. It's pointless to me. You gather stuff in order to keep certain bars, certain from reaching a certain threshold to then be able to go out and gather more.
Ultimately, the following issue is why Metal Gear Survive won't survive. A severe lack of content. Say what you will about the Dead Rising games, but finding and crafting new weapons is so much fun, and if you disagree, I hate you. Well, what can I say? You got about 3 guns in this game and 6 melee weapons. I mean, come on. I started the game with a spear and I ended it with a slightly better spear. There isn't remotely enough wildlife. There's only 1 enemy type plus the fatties and maybe some spiders. It's a game about crafting where you can't craft shit except a ton of different food items. I mean, come on, man. You joking, mate?
If I remember correctly, the Polish shot first. That was the worst joke ever. This was advertised as a multiplayer game. Well, question for you. Where's the multiplayer? That sorry excuse for a co-op mode? You can't even play through the campaign with a friend. Just what was going through your heads? A glory hole may be a great source of protein, but not for video game design ideas.
And add to that all the little sprinkles of cancer, the metastasis, if you will. You have to be always online despite the main game being a single player experience. This is strike 1, you're gay. And Konami, you can lick my nutties for that. Next up, the game starts by forcing you to sign a contract. I complain about this every time it happens, and I will keep complaining every time it happens, cause I don't want these necrophiles to have my data. Moreover, paying for more character slots? Are you serious? I mean, who gives a fuck? The game is garbage, but still, that's quite a big dick move for Asians. And lastly, why the anale penetration do I always have to keep holding a button to harvest Cuban energy? Hold the button, 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 hold the button.
Dear Ranton fan, I want to end this segment by showing you a clip that I made that sums up this whole catastrophe in a perfect way. Roll it. And by that, I mean your fat mother out of the trailer so I can roll the clip. So please, roll it!
You will never get this, you will never get this, la 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 la.
It took me about 20 hours to finish the game on medium. There's also easy and hard. You can continue exploring the world after the credits, which in retrospect makes the entire adventure redundant and pointless, but whatever. I think there is zero incentive to explore more, replay the game, level up, or live.
Schwanzflick in the Cups! You know what? If this was a new IP that had nothing to do with Metal Gear, I would say it's a 5 out of 10. The very definition of mediocrity, like not my dick. But because this is officially Metal Gear, I have no choice but to give Metal Gear Survive a hero. Hiroshima out of 10. If you are a human being, please like the video and follow me on Twitter, link in the description. If you are a YouTube game reviewer, then well, I'm coming for your ass. To then come in your ass. You have 6 days.